Art, Mr. Manager.
Oh, Mayor, members of council, good to be with you all. I'm going to run you through the agenda real quick, and then we'll jump into the budget work
Yes,
sessions.
sir.
So we'll take whatever time we need, obviously, to work through the budget, and then want to do a couple of quick pop-ups. I'm going to ask James Rogers to jump up and do a little piece on the cigar factory. So obviously a lot of activity there. Want everybody to know what's happening there, and then it's Bike Month. May is Bike Month coming up, and I've asked Winter and I were talking. I think there's some interesting things going on. He'll jump up and just give you a quick little overview of that. And then John Konak will talk about Diggstown. We got a couple items that we didn't get to last week. Renovation of Diggstown and the Park Place residential overlay that I think y'all are pretty familiar with, but it's as much for the public as anything. And Lenny Newcomb will jump up and do that. And then we've talked a lot since I've been here about tourism zones and some of the tools that are available to us, not only downtown, but in areas outside of downtown, particularly Ocean View and the military corridor. And I'm going to propose to you that we should, you all should pass an ordinance that expands, frankly, your tourism zone and actually have 3 tourism zones, and which then qualify projects for the Tourism Development Financing Program. It's a really attractive state program, and Chuck Reagan will jump up and give you a little bit of information on that, and then we'll get that on your agenda.
Yes, sir.
So with that said, if you don't mind putting up the budget piece. So just to remind you of sort of, and we're really for tonight, I think, talking about general fund, and just to remind you of kind of how we got where we were in terms of the recommendation to you. You had a $835 million general fund budget last year. You had $5 million of one-time money. We backed that out, so you start with a base of $830 million. You then have stuff that's just you got to do. It's the salary increases that you put in January that you've now got to annualize, contractual obligations, those sorts of things, debt service. That added about $19 million to our base. So suddenly, before you really do anything, you're at say $850 million. And so then we talked to the department and the departments and tried to get savings and things that we could do, and went and literally had some across the board cuts and were able to save some money doing that. We didn't take as much from public safety. Remember talking during the budget message as we did from some of the departments, but we got a little bit leaner and we did some things to be more efficient and really saved ourselves some pretty good money on debt service expenditures, made some little more aggressive assumptions on vacancies, and that got us about $6.5 million worth of savings. And then from listening to you all and the things that we thought were important to you all, we put, remember, those enhancements back, about $6.5 million worth of enhancements that we've talked about in the past, last couple of meetings. We have the undesignated fund balance of a couple $1 million, remember that? And we were recommending $600,000 of that going to retirees, leaving you $1.4 million. And made some best practice changes, and all that put us at the $853 million budget. So just to kind of remind you where so what I'll tell you is, in my estimation, we've got the organization at a point where we're giving pretty good service delivery, actually really good service delivery. And if you go back and cut the organization much more, you will impact sort of the delivery of our core services. And so so that led us to the conversation that we had last week. Go back one more, Kimberly, if you don't mind. So what I'll talk to you now is just we do the revenue. Patricia and her team did the revenue reforecast. I'm going to talk to you about that for a second. And then, frankly, the meat of this conversation is your conversation. We need some guidance. So we've got 3 big topics. Remember the retiree supplement. I'll talk about this a little bit more, but they obviously they wanted a COLA, but had said if we do a one-time bonus or supplement, they'd like us to look at really who's impacted a little tighter than maybe we did last year. So I'll talk to you about what our recommendation is there. And I think maybe, and then council interest, the things that we've heard you all talk about, but specific things that you all have raised individually, and I sent you those last night of that list, and just need to go through that list and figure out what's important to you and what you want to get in, and are there things on that list that are important enough to take other things out. And so we'll talk through that, and then we'll get into the school funding. So a lot of conversation, obviously, last meeting and subsequently about the relationship with the schools and our funding to the schools, and we'll talk through that. And I think we've had good conversations with the the chair and the superintendent about how we work together between now and the fall, and really tee ourselves up for maybe a more predictable fall than we had, these last few weeks. So that's our budget work session agenda. So Kimberly, if you'll throw the next one up. So reforecast the revenues. I told you we're about $853,000. We were looking at ambulance fees and thinking those things were not tracking where we thought they would be tracking. Since then, they've really caught back up, and we think that and our forecast is that they'll be really at about where they were this current year, which really allows us to add $250,000 to our revenue forecast for the budget. So kind of have that in your mind over here.
Yes, go ahead.
On the ambulance fees, I was watching the news, and there was one locality, I can't remember what locality it was, but they instituted a fee for multiple non-emergency phone calls.
Okay.
Non-emergency, we can't get whoever down the stairs, we need help doing whatever. And so they call 911 and they get the emergency people out there. And then when the emergency people get out there, the emergency people can't, it's not an emergency. Do we have anything like that?
I don't know the answer.
Yeah,
well, certainly, if Mike, I don't know if you know
911.
the answer to that, but if not, why don't you let us find out if anybody in the room knows? Yeah, we do not have that.
Okay, do we know, because this particular locality had multiple calls, and I don't know if it was just, it was just a lot for that locality, but can we look at what our calls for service when it comes to the ambulance actually are, and those that are non-emergency, because I think they ended up somewhere like 5 or 6. So if you made 5 or 6 a year, after that were non-emergency related calls, then there was an additional charge because it tied up the EMS people from real emergencies. So can we look at what our calls for service are and what we're sending our people out for?
Yes, ma'am, we can do that analysis.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Smigiel,
I was just saying that would be a Virginia code issue, right? I would assume.
Dillon's rule and our charter? Yes, it would. And my first impression is that we probably have the authority to do it. It's in the nature of a user fee. So that we do charge for the ambulance, and this is just a part of that cost. That's my first reaction, but you're correct. We'd have to do that analysis.
It's another locality. Yes, it's for GB's Chesapeake, one of those other localities locally here that did it. And
Somebody's
they
already
decided an exorbitant number of completely let's get the cat out of the tree kind of, calls. And that's just a waste of time.
But the cat doesn't deserve to have.
Not EMS, no.
All right, so we'll
Down there and drag them down.
we'll do a little analysis.
The animal people are coming
I know
after
they're
you
coming
now.
after me.
We'll see what some other communities are doing and see if it's logical to bring you some options there. So we'll talk about retiree supplement, if you could. So you remember we told you that, or last year, $600,000 supplement, and that $600,000 was divided among retirees that were making less than $30,000. And then obviously the intent was to give it to the folks that needed it the most. I think an unintended consequence the retirees were explaining to us was that you had folks that maybe had a healthy salary, but weren't here very long. Maybe they were only here 5, 6, 8 years, and suddenly because they were making less than $30,000 in retirement, they may be getting other retirement from other places. They got the bonus, and that was an unintended consequence, I think. And so they said, we really would like you to look at folks that frankly dedicated their professional careers to the city. And so we went and did some analysis, and we looked at what I'm showing you is our recommendation, but we've looked at every category of sort of those making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, how many people are impacted and how you might divide this up. Where we've landed, and I think this makes a lot of sense and is true to the intent that you all have had, is that we use that same $30,000 threshold. And we say you need to have been in classified position. You're a non-exempt, essentially employee with a classified position. And I will tell you that's been a little difficult in terms of paperwork. So we may have some glitches if somebody comes back and says, "Hey, I think I qualified." They may be right. And if they are, we'll fix that. But our preliminary analysis says if you look at last year on the left, using the threshold, not using the 25-year threshold, you impacted 1,577 people. The average benefit was $17,000, and on average they got they all got $380 bonus, and that was an effect. It had the same effect as a one-time 2.1% hit. Our proposal, again, going to that 25 years, would impact a smaller number of people, but it would impact them more significantly. And their average benefit is $21,000, and the bonus for them would be $857. So you're taking the folks that, in our minds, need the money the most because they're making the least, and this is in all likelihood the most money, the majority of their retirement, and you're giving them a meaningful bonus. So that's our recommendation to you, and happy to answer any questions.
Could I ask you a question? Did you say it would be limited to the classified employees?
Yes.
So the unclassified employees are not a suspect class, so you just have to have a rational reason to treat them differently?
Yeah, and the thought, again, the rationale was that these are folks that were made, in all likelihood, made less money and had less options in terms of retirement, and I think that's it.
But wouldn't that equally apply to the unclassified? I don't, it's not obvious to me why that label, if you're under 30.
Yeah, frankly, it's a little, we're taking it from the conversation we had with the retirees. So, and sort of how they wanted us to treat this.
How many unclassified positions do we have that make under 30,000? Because I would assume that unclassified, probably there's very few that are making under 30,000. Most.
Those are.
Yeah.
And for the, and also for the benefit of people watching, can you just explain the
So it's
elevated
essentially
version of
exempt and
classified?
non-exempt. So in my mind, it's the folks. Greg's shaking his head at me. I'm about to tell it to you wrong.
So, classified employees are protected by civil service. Non-classified employees, for all intents and purposes, are in appointed positions. So generally, it's like a bureau manager or above level position. So it's a higher level management position.
So they would probably be making more than $30,000. They would have. They would have been making more than $30,000.
No, the 30 is what they're making from the retirement today. So don't and that was the problem we got into last year. It didn't have anything to do with what they made while they were working. It's what their retirement benefit was.
Okay.
So that's what we're trying to get away from. And we had people that were making, good heavy salaries that really didn't. I'm sure they were happy to get the bonus.
And if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know if one of you is here to correct me, the lowest grade that a non-classified employee is in right now is 16, and they have a minimum salary of around somewhere between $58,000 and $60,000.
I can correct that everybody in the Department of Law is unclassified. And so I've got a runner, a receptionist, secretaries, and they are not making a larger amount of money, which is why their retirement would be less. But I'm not lobbying just for my office. I just didn't seem to me obvious what the rationale was. If each person is receiving $17,000 in retirement, one gets it and the other doesn't. But maybe it is rational. I just am missing it.
Do we need to make the distinction if we only use what their retirement salary is?
The current
The
I mean, if
retirement.
Bernard is saying he has secretaries and runners that are unclassified.
And I think his department is very unique.
Right, so
That-
to cover the unique areas, why don't we just do it by the same criteria he had, being salary, retirement salary, and years of service?
And no matter whether they're
It doesn't
classified
matter.
or
Yeah,
not.
I mean, it sounds like that's a
We can
very
certainly do
small
that.
amount,
We can
right?
certainly do that.
I don't think it would increase it that much, probably at all.
That
Does
way
that
you're
give
not
you
losing anybody.
heartburn?
No, absolutely not. And we have the data, so it's easy enough to restructure it.
So I'd love to get some concurrence. If that's the will, then we'd like to check this box so that the adjustment is 25 years, less than $30,000 in retirement compensation. We'll divide up the $600,000 supplement. And I think that stays true to the intent, again, of folks that dedicated themselves to the organization for the majority of their professional career and aren't getting a large retirement compared to their peers today.
Will everyone still get the 857?
It'll be smaller. You'll be a little bit smaller
Than
because
857.
you'll have more than, in all likelihood, you'll have more than 700 people. We can give you that number, but it's certainly going to be a lot less than that 1577 you did last year.
Yes, sir, Paul, what you have is, you have $600,000 set aside for a supplement
Okay.
for individuals who have 25 years of service and are making $30,000 or less in their retirement. And so we will go from 700 probably to a larger number, but until they run those numbers, we won't know what the number of retirees are.
Right.
But 600,000 is the number that we're going to work with.
Thank
I
you.
think no matter what you use, you fixed the unintended consequence of last year. Okay, so that's retiree supplement. So Kimberly, if you'll throw us up. So last week, really since our submission, we've had a number of council interests that have come into my office, and in no particular order. And so what I've done is put them into one-time requests and ongoing requests. And particularly the ongoing requests, what you heard is you've got about $250,000 more in revenue than we budgeted for when we made the proposal a couple of weeks ago. So kind of have that number in your mind. You start getting over that number in ongoing, then something's got to give somewhere. So have that in the back of your mind. And then the one-time requests are obviously a little easier to pull off, but nevertheless, it's real money. So the one time, I'll just read them for you. Expansion of the historic property survey. To have a better understanding of what the historic properties are in Norfolk and bring somebody in to help study that. I think Ms. McClellan actually wants to talk about, and we'll come, if you'll let me run through the whole list, the community rating system and some things that we can do to make things more effective on our end.
May I just ask a question about the historic property? Or do you want to wait till we're done?
Why don't you let me run
Okay,
through
go
them
ahead.
all,
Sorry.
so
Go
you
ahead.
know what they all are, and then I think frankly, some of you all are gonna defend and advocate for some of these different ones. Projects in Ingleside, a variety of things that would happen in the Ingleside neighborhood. You've seen some emails the last couple of days and the last few months about dredging on the Hague and some of the silting that's happening there, and to actually study that effort, what it would take. What did you tell me, Winter? The Hague hadn't been dredged since the early 70s?
1973.
All right. And the PACE program, which is property assessed clean energy, which is something the Chamber's gotten real involved in. I know a couple of you all are interested in supporting that program and doing some analysis on that. So about $240,000 worth of one-time requests have come from you all. And then the ongoing requests, Fest events, about almost $200,000 worth of requests for some new positions and some overhead that they've got. I think most of you all have, I think all of you all have got a pretty good briefing on that. Saturday hours at the Resource Center in Camp Estella. So we don't have Saturday hours there, and so we think that's about $12,000 to provide those hours. And then the idea of using Volunteer Hampton Roads to come in and help set up a volunteer program. A couple of you have talked to me about funds for DART. And the original proposal was to help DART, obviously had to vacate the Selden Arcade with the explosion, moved into a different building. I think staff feels like obligations commitments were made and honored to get them in that building, but I know that some of you all have been approached about giving them some additional funds. And then the big question, I think it probably makes sense to talk about these things real quick, and then the big conversation is schools. But as you think through these things, just have schools in the back of your mind that anything you spend here is not available to spend in schools.
So I think, yes, you're absolutely right, and we'll go through them. But I want to just make one observation for Fest events. Doug, I think that we need to go ahead and fund that $198,000 for Fest events. And so I think we all can agree that for what we get, for the return of investment, for what they give and what we receive, not only as a city, but a region, they do it with bare bones. So the $198,000 requests for administrative support and other resources, I think we should fund that.
I think
I
Can
think
we
that's-
do it through public
Can we do it through public?
Yeah, so here's one of the things I'd ask of you all, and we're still figuring each other out, is if you all can give us direction in what you want to do, let us figure out, don't jump to the solution of how to get, let us try to figure out how to get you. Absolutely, we'll look at that.
Okay.
But there may be other ways to get you there as well.
You fund it and you tell us how.
All right.
And then as we go through the list, because we have schools to be
To be determined, TBD, that's just,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
whole,
so
that's
why don't-
another slide.
All right, so let's, okay, you want to do another slide there?
I think
Okay.
I think what I'd like to do is get
Okay.
some
All right.
just sense. I just didn't want you saying, hey, let's go spend all this money and not, and
But before we do, I think that we need to say something about schools before we start
Okay.
putting other priorities out there.
All right.
And so, as you know, Tommy and I have been working with Dr. Boone and with the administration, and we have some ideas, and so we can just talk about, and then we'll. let
Yeah,
you
so
know.
here's what we heard last week, and it was really a variety of things without consensus, which is fine, but some interest in one-time funding for things, for schools. And I would tell you that is, depending on how far you go, that's attainable, as long as you don't go too big a number. That doesn't really impact service delivery, because we've got some pots that we can look at one time, obviously. Ongoing, there was conversation about ongoing funds. Some people want to give them money and keep that as
I
an
took
ongoing
that off the
commitment.
table. You told me to.
I didn't tell
But I agree with you. I take it off the table. You can move on.
all right, and then or a combination of some ongoing and some one-time monies. And then we talked. I think I've given you a fair bit of information about the public amenities fund balance, and Mr. Spiegel and I have had some back and forth. And the challenge you've got there, if you do that, is you've got some commitments. And so by 2020, if you took the $6 million, if was a number that was thrown around, frankly, the general fund would be you'd either have to move commitments out of the public amenities fund or move general fund money in there. And I would say to you, if you want to give them one-time money, there's other ways to do it that don't cause as many issues.
Mr. Smeagol?
So, and I do appreciate the conversation that Doug and the mayor, we've been talking about this, and I know $6 million sounds like a lot, but it goes back to the kicking the can down the road. And if we can get through this budget cycle with helping the school system get this pay and comp, because the mayor and I talked about, I think everybody around here is understands what's going on with teacher salaries. I think we've killed that enough, and that there's a compression issue. And so the mayor and I know we've been working and showing our commitment to that. So I know that there's $6 million available and some one-time funds that will help us get through this year, where we don't have to go into the public amenities fund or raise taxes. And then as we continue those conversations with the school system, it allows us then the opportunity to look at the different sources of money that we could do for ongoing funds with that. And I know that Dr. Boone and Rodney have talked to Kenny. I had some brief conversations with Rodney about this and them presenting their redesign efforts. And I think by October, we should have a better handle of what they're going to be proposing as far as their redesign. And it allows us then to also look at some accountability measures that I know have been a concern for some council members, and making sure that we're seeing some consolidation efforts and some other things. But I think that in your conversations with Dr. Boone and me and Doug, that it seems like that we can make this happen for them. And the school board members that I've spoken to have said that they are truly committed to the pay and comp part of their request. And so it's not just giving them the $6 million and then all of a sudden they're going to take that and go buy a bunch of school buses with it. This is truly their number one priority is the pay and comp. And I think, Kenny, you can agree that that's what they said to us.
That's right.
Could you expand, Kenny, so people can understand about this commitment that we've drawn up with the school system, so they understand that by October, Doug has done this.
Yeah,
with
so-
And I can talk about it a
administration.
little bit too.
That's great.
Yeah.
Tommy, go ahead.
So we developed the funding formula, in order for us to sustain and support them, we're looking at the core instructional programs, facility utilization, that consolidation plan, and including improvement of some buildings, and then strengthening specialty programs, which is one of our efforts to try to bring families back in the Norfolk, and then ensuring equity for all were the points that were made. I don't know if that helps you.
Yeah.
So that's great stuff. Here's a list that I'd listened to you all. I think covers all the same things. The specialty programs I didn't have on here,
Yeah.
but we'll get that on here. And obviously, we've put a lot of money in this CIP to start talking about Newton Creek. Education is going to be critically important in that piece. I would say we want, collaboration there. And for us, and I said this to Dr. Boone, we would have this agreement. It's not for us to look over her shoulder as much as it is for us to be in the room so that when we get to October, we know we're well versed in what it is they're trying to accomplish and what they're trying to do, and we've all been at the table together to make that happen.
And the school district they have a focus. It's literacy, leadership, and rigor.
Right.
It's now they're in the process of defining those, and I think that's part of the accountability plan requesting that, I don't know, for those who've been on council for a while, we've seen multiple accountability plans over the year with a new superintendent and new school board, giving them that opportunity to define that is, and it's by October, I think, is when we were told that would happen.
Yes, sir. And one thing I would add is that school improvement or student achievement and greater success for all of our schools is part of this. And we can do this, Mr. Manager, without raising taxes and without raiding the public amenities fund.
Correct.
Okay? All right.
Correct.
I just have a question. When we talk about equity for all schools, what does that look like? Is there a detailed plan
NPS, yes,
to
so
address what equity for all schools? Because the failing schools are your Title I schools.
So the city and NPS will work together on this collaboratively. So this is not something that we will just be given by NPS. This agreement is the city of Norfolk and our public schools working closely together on all of these initiatives, and something that we have not done in the past.
But I think there's an opportunity too with the Lifelong Learning Commission to look at the poverty aspects. So it's already been identified through the Poverty Commission, but now taking that into the education realm and seeing how we can use community partnerships possibly to help in some of our neighborhoods and bringing in educational programs to help offset some of what we can't do in the school system and help with that, whether it's tutoring centers or whether it's colleges partnering with us, looking at, there's so many different avenues we can look at. I think that commission would really be able to look at that issue in particular, for Super Ward 7, and looking out for our kids there and developing maybe some innovative programs as a city to assist with that.
One of the things that I would like to just remind everybody, and not just everybody around the room, is that we have had all these different conversations about this plan and that plan and this superintendent and that superintendent. And more than likely, any one of these plans with any one of these superintendents would have worked. And we really need, I think, the patience of the public, because there is nothing that it's like, there's no pill to make you lose 20 pounds in 2 days. And there's no pill for that. And there is no pill, there's not a quick fix. So I think that with this council and with the current school board, that we're coming to the table, we're talking, we're working together in a way that we haven't done before. And it's not something that's gonna turn things around just because, overnight. It's going to take time because all of these things have to be implemented, they have to be taught. And I think we need to make sure that we're all on the same page. If we're getting the support of the school board and the school board and the public school system is getting our support, that we set realistic expectations for the public, especially when it comes to outcomes and how realistically we can do these things.
Great. All right, Ms. Johnson, do you want to finish your thought?
Oh, no, I'm finished.
All right.
I just have my list
So,
of money.
so Mr. Manager, I wanted to get that number on the table, that 6 million, because that's a real number.
Okay.
And then we can build from there. We have a commitment for festive events, commitment for the schools. And so you can build from there, sir.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Bowe.
So my question is, based on the information that you sent out last night, that you had a list of cutting, as an option for funding these, cutting ongoing enhancements.
Doug started explaining that to me.
Yeah, with the list.
I think some of us misread
Okay.
that when you sent that out.
So that's what I started with, kind of how we got to the number we got to. So we got to that, now I'll get my number, 843 or 840, and then the enhancements that we put on was the list that I showed you, that 6.5 million or so of items that weren't in last year. And what I was saying in the beginning was, if you were gonna go for some cuts or trying to find money, I'd advocate that you not cut basic services but anyway, it's all.
So those are not on the table of that list that you.
So it read originally like we were gonna have to trade in police vests to give money to the schools. That's what some of us were talking about when we saw that.
So Tommy said to me earlier today, I went, I don't think that's, if that is, I have an issue.
No, so Andrea, what we just discussed does not include raising taxes, does not raise the public amenities funds, nor does it cut core services, funding and resources for our core services. So they're sacred.
All right, and 6 is one time or ongoing, or you want us to determine
It's a
that?
blend. So
All right,
3
that's what
million,
you
3 million should be ongoing, and 3 million should be one time. Okay?
All right,
Thank you.
all right, so I think we can go back
Thank you, everybody.
a couple of slides.
You never got that for free.
What?
Paul, see, I actually love him. See?
All right.
The kids, thank you. This is for students.
All right, so I'm going to put this back to you all. This is your list of the things that were not in our proposal that I've heard that you all have interest in. We've already obviously covered Festivents at the top right.
And Doug, I just have one question about Festivents. I know we're giving that money this year, but are we going to sustain that? Because if
Yeah,
Karen
that's-
goes out and has to hire
Yeah,
all
that's-
these people with that money,
Yeah,
and then
that's-
next year
that's
we.
continuous.
Okay,
Yeah, this-
I just want to
this
make, I know
list
this
is
is
ongoing,
ongoing,
yeah.
but I want to make sure that
It's done.
we have funding source for that.
We will have.
And just to clarify.
So it would really suck for Karen to have to hire all those people and.
And just to clarify, one of the reasons we're doing this is because we're asking Festivents to do more outside of the downtown area, in our neighborhoods, and in Ocean View, et cetera. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
It also, though, brings us back to where she was originally. So it's-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because
So-
she's
so-
down from 22 people to 12, and it's just, I mean, I don't know how they do what they do with 12 people. It's unbelievable.
So you've got, just remember the first we opened with, you've got 250 in revenue we didn't anticipate having.
Dr. Whibley?
You just spent 180, I mean,
And
185 of it.
So 2 things. Tell me about this expansion of historic properties. What is that?
So again, these are y'all's, so they, that Mr. McClellan talked through, or Mr.
Because, you know, we did this when we had the preservation committee, and they went out and identified all the historic properties. We also have a historic foundation that has identified all the properties. So I don't know why, aren't we a little redundant here?
So Terry, the last time they've done a survey was in 1996. So there are a lot of the properties now that have come on
What
board.
was the HAPSI that
We
it just was disbanded 3 years ago?
Hapsy didn't do a land study.
So what about
They
the,
rewrote chapter 9.
so we're talking about what the city has done, not what different city foundations have done,
Sure. So
city
this,
groups.
so basically this would, you could expand those proprities that would be eligible for tax credits.
I'm all in favor of that. I'm just
That's what
saying, it
this
just
would-
seems
this
like
essentially would
we've
be.
already done this. So what's the cost? Where's the cost come from?
So again, these are y'all's. I mean, not to say that we won't do lots of research and figure them out, but this is the list coming from council.
No, what I'm saying is, where do you get 100,000?
So,
What's the
Oh.
cost?
So what I got, the number I got was from Paige Collard, and potentially has some CDBG matching funds, and it wouldn't just be one, it would be spread out over probably a period of several years.
Right, but
So
what's the
we-
cost? Are you hiring more people?
You probably would contract out to have this done, because it's a whole expensive, to go and do these things. It's an
I just
economic
hope we're
development
taking advantage of community groups that have, would love to do this.
Winter, do you have
And,
something to
What,
say?
what community
I-
groups?
The
I think
historic,
I think
society,
Winter has
and they
something
love
to
it.
add.
Think Lenny,
All
They're
right,
the
so,
same ones that come.
so,
up.
go
Yes,
ahead.
maybe.
So,
Lenny Newcomb.
Lenny first.
In your state and federal districts, you have surveys that were done back in the 1970s to establish that those areas were eligible to be listed and for contributing structures. We have not updated those surveys since they were originally done in the 1970s.
I'm sorry.
And it is time, there's a lot of homes.
So the
and
cost is the consultants then?
It's to get staff in to do the legwork.
Okay. All right, great. And then the other thing that I said was this for the Dart Center, that was one time. funding, that's
Yes.
not ongoing.
I got it on the wrong side, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ongoing.
That is one time. You know, I
One
assumed
time.
it was ongoing. Okay, so
Yeah,
that moves to
that's
one
one
time, okay.
Okay,
Do you need to talk about the community rating system?
all right, so, Mrs. Johnson was next, and Ms. McCullough.
The advanced community rating system, exactly. She's getting ready. What?
That's what I was.
Perfect.
I passed
Perfect
out,
introduction.
I passed out a little cheat sheet to explain it to you guys. Norfolk participates in the National Flood Insurance Program and the Community Rating System. We currently have a rate of 8, and what that means is a 10% rate reduction on all the flood insurance policies for our citizens who are in the flood insurance program, which is great. So currently we save a little under, for our homeowners, a little under $800,000 a year. However, we could improve that. We could improve that to a 20% reduction or 25% reduction, which would equal between 1.6 to 1.9 million dollars a year savings. And if you saw the recent New York Times article talking about flood insurance rates and how difficult that is in our area, I think this makes a lot of sense. The challenge is we have a staff in our planning department that is 1/3 of the size of what it was in 2008. And we have a floodplain administrator who's amazing, but I just don't think has the time to spend on this. And as I understand, I'm talking with FEMA folks last week and others, this takes a lot of work to focus on this, improving this rating. So my recommendation is, I think it's a smart move for taxpayers' dollars to spend money to contract out approximately $50,000, which we could possibly get an $800,000 return for our citizens.
So is this for the entire city,
Yes, ma'am.
all homeowners?
And we have, we
the
currently
flood
have,
Not all homeowners.
All
Only
homeowners
homeowners
are-
that are required to have
Right.
flood insurance.
well, I have flood insurance and I'm not required.
Right, but I mean, especially those that are required to have flood
Right, and
insurance.
so right now, we have, I can tell you how many flood homes. We have a little under 12,000 homes who have plans. The average premium is $786, but I know homeowners who have flood insurance plans that are thousands of dollars. My flood insurance is $400 because I'm not in a flood.
You're not required.
But this to me is one way that we can demonstrate that we're working towards addressing our flood issues and trying to mitigate some of the costs to our citizens.
Didn't we just do this something similar?
So we've done a lot through the planning commission over the years to reduce the number as much as we can. We've done
okay.
adopted a lot of rules and regulations that allow us to have credits already, but the goal is to get as many as possible.
And what I'm just saying is, we've done a lot of cuts over the years because of the recession, et cetera. And we're asking our staff to do so much more. And I think this is an area where they're just, they're up to their eyeballs, and I think it makes sense to contract out and find some additional assistance here. And I've talked with George Homewood about this and asked for his input. I think he's on board as well. And Martin understands this pretty well, so if you have anything to add.
It's a good investment. We can find the money, it makes all the sense in the world. Again, we've been working on different ways to get this number as low as possible through city staff for years, and we've, inch by inch, we've gotten slowly where we are today, but I think we can do some more.
Where is the federal government on eliminating their subsidy? Because I understand that they were their plan was to lower over time the amount that they were contributing to the overall flood, which is going to mean that flood insurance, it's just gonna go from one hand to the next. It's gonna go from federal government to homeowners, so where are they in all of that? Where's federal government in
Figure 12.
their
Talks
plan?
Act.
Lenny?
I could not hear back there, I'm sorry.
Where is the federal government in their plan to eliminate or reduce their subsidy to the flood insurance program? Because there was conversation about they were going to be paying less and homeowners were going to be paying more. So where is that?
The flood insurance program is about $28 billion in the red. And they started several years ago with bills that went through Congress. One of them was called the Bigot Waters, the other one that followed was called Grim Waters. And they both attempted, the Grim Waters was the name of the representative. They attempted to establish a method of bringing flood insurance to an actuary level. It is extremely subsidized right now.
Right.
What we do know is that the first one took off and there was an outcry. Representatives went back to Congress. They slowed down the increases. But right now, flood insurance is going to be rising. It is a subsidized cost as the federal government starts to look at their financial affairs, which we hope they will do someday. They're going to find that they have to address this. It is our understanding that everybody who has flood insurance, who's in a flood zone, and particularly people who have had claims, their rates are going to go up somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 17% a year, somewhere like that.
Okay.
So mine is going up. I'm in a flood zone. I've never had a claim, but it's starting to go up.
Right, ours is too. We're in a flood zone and we're required to have flood insurance, but yeah, and it's going up as well. So yeah, okay, I just wanted to know where they were.
We just recently, the announcement came down in Georgia. I was going to forward this to you all. We've gone from a level 9 to a level 8. We've gone from 5% savings to 10% savings. We were not satisfied with that. We expected to go 7.
Mm-hmm.
We argued back and forth with FEMA. They've given us a chance to resubmit right on top of the announcement so that by the end of this year we could be at a 7, which would be 15% discount.
So it's kind
But,
of
you know,
trying to net neutralize a little bit of that or balance out what's going away with the savings or what's going to increase with the savings that we're giving them to try to, so that it's less of an impact on the residents. Because if the price goes up and we get no additional savings, then the price goes up. But if we get additional savings and the price goes up, they kind of balance each other out.
That's the goal.
Okay.
And you actually will see on your flood insurance policy, when you get the bill, it actually will show 5% or 10% reduction as a result of participating in the CRS program. Virginia Beach doesn't participate in the CRS program, by the way. So we were very forward-thinking, thanks to our planning staff, to get us into this a while back. And it's not just a matter of filling out paperwork. We actually have to do things, and we have to,
Right.
you know, FEMA has some very specific areas. The best rating in the region is Gloucester, and they're at a rating of 6. I believe that's the case. Gloucester's at a 6.
Gloucester's a 6. I don't know how they do that.
Yeah. Baltimore's at a 5. That's sort of the gold standard. That's where we would like to be at. At any rate, so I think this makes a lot of sense for who we are, what we're doing, and all the challenges that we face. And it is a citywide program.
So, Mr. Manager, what's the staff recommendation?
So well, here's you got my budget proposal, right? So these things weren't in there. Doesn't mean they're not worthy, and so this is, you've got $250,000 of new revenue, and so part of what I think you're doing right now is advocating for a handful of things that you think are merit being in the budget.
Are you also counting the 1.4 undesignated funds that you?
That's
So
available.
you have 1.4 plus 250.
Well, 250 of ongoing,
Right.
1.4 of undesignated. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Mrs.
So
Johnson?
if you wanted to spend that money as part of the 1.4, you can do that.
Ms. Johnson?
So, Mr. Manager, I'm glad that you clarified that. And we could address my list with my colleagues and everything so that we're all clear on how much money is available for us. And some of the things that we're interested are not on this list right now. So that is where we're going towards right now.
All right, so Doug, let's fund this, okay?
Fund the CRS.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all right, move on.
Can I ask a quick question about the funds for DR? So I think some of us have been getting letters that public arts has been completely cut. I don't know where that came from, but then we got another letter here that said that it wasn't that it was completely cut, but it's just not at the level.
So
Is
here's-
that the funds for DR? Is that what that letter was asking for?
I don't know. But
Okay.
here, let's talk about public art and then let's talk about the art.
Okay.
So you've got, and Greg will correct me on the numbers, $445,000 of committed money for public art, right? Appropriated money.
How much?
You 445.
Okay.
You've got another 989,000 that is available. So essentially, you've got 4 years worth of public art that hasn't been uses for which have not been identified.
Okay.
So somewhat like Complete Streets, that's got a pot of money still there. We didn't fund additional money for public art in this budget. Let's spend the money, let's spend the $1 million you got, rather than putting new money in. So that's public art.
I know we don't want to get into a huge debate, but why isn't the money being spent? Because there's no public art down in Ocean View other than they just painted but there's places all throughout the city. I think Wards Corner could probably use some more. But why? But how do you? I guess my question is, how do you get on the list and the request public art if it's sitting there?
It's not just, I mean, they're working on it. I mean, so for example, they've been working to bring artwork to the airport for 2 years. And
Right, I
they just
saw
issued
that,
an
yeah.
RFP for that. So it's an ongoing process.
It is
It's
a-
one of
There was
those-
money
there's
that was
also-
appropriated for the Civic Plaza a
Right.
long time ago.
Right. Yeah.
That continues.
Is that still in that 8
Yeah,
million?
but what happened was the proposal that was talked about was not passed, and so now they've gone back to the drawing board to get another public art for that plaza, so that money still remains.
So why don't you let us give you
talk to
a,
your commission and
Yeah.
raise the issue that you're interested in having art and wherever.
so we'll give you, just like we did on the Public Amenities Fund and some of these other, we'll give you a little briefing paper on public art and tell you kind of what you got, where you're going and what
I
the
think in
process is.
general, I'm speaking for myself. In general, I think it adds to the quality of life in Norfolk and having
Sure,
public
right.
art, but not at the detriment of other things. We have to look at everything, but, I also don't think that we should have insulation falling from the ceilings of our schools, and, drip buckets everywhere. So
I just,
it's a balance.
it just bothers me when there's a rumor that we took all of our money away, and that's not true.
It's not accurate.
You
It's
know,
just zeroed out
and-
for right now.
yeah.
It's not, we're not adding to it this year like we
Right.
have in the past.
You got almost a $500,000 encumbered and almost $1 million unencumbered.
Okay.
So you
To
got plenty of money.
further explain what Dr. Willis was suggesting, is that just because the money's there doesn't mean you just go spend it this year. It takes multiple years to work these
Right.
things out. And
Right.
so if you stop the stream now, there's a year down the road from now where they're not gonna have money to do a project. And so I think that's where they're more concerned. And I do think, we made a commitment years ago to fund public art as a city, and I think that's important as well. So
That funding is not unlike the Public Amenities Fund.
Right.
That 1% is, we've made that promise, and I think it's a strong one.
All right, Mr. Manager?
All right, so
Fund
So
that-
so I guess to clarify, the DART, that's a totally different
Right, I just
thing.
want to make sure that.
And what
yeah.
happened with the DART was once they were in limbo and didn't have a place to live, they couldn't have any of their ongoing money-making projects, to kind of do the short-term description. So where they are now, to stay in it, they're 50,000, they need frankly to be whole to stay in their rent.
So, Mr. Manager, let's fund that 50,000, because again, they will be back. If they can't pay their rent, and if they can't stay in their current location, which I believe they are trying to buy, or they are discussing about purchasing that location. But certainly, it's something that we should try
So,
to do. But then also work with them, hopefully, about a long-term.
okay.
Well, and
So if
Doug, I
you-
know you don't want to have this conversation right now, but I'm just going to bring this back up again. Something like that, to me, is something that could be funded out of the Public Amenities Fund. It doesn't have to keep on coming out of our
DR or
budget.
public art?
DR. I mean, I'm just saying,
Tom,
and
Tom,
that
one
will
of
be
the things-
that will be a conversation this whole next year, since we're bringing public amenities back up. But I think we've got to start looking at those funds to assist with things like that. And I even brought up, in our budget, we have the Wisconsin, and we put money towards Wisconsin. It's another example of something that could come out of the Public Amenities Fund that we don't have to keep on funding out of our general fund, to assist with that. And I know the worries of that Public Amenities Fund, and you guys are very conservative on your forecasts with that revenue for the Public Amenities Fund. I think that will be a lot higher down the road. But I think it would be a great discussion, maybe even a small committee of council members, to go back and look at that Public Amenities Fund, particularly the statement that was made that it was only for downtown, and correcting that because there are other places that we may want to look at that money going, and try to utilize some of those funds to do some things that maybe we haven't been able to do and assist throughout the city that is a public amenity.
Sometimes I think you need to leave some money alone. You make that argument, but I remember in the past, we were able to take that money and do some big ticket items. You just can't keep nibbling, because if you nibble, it's gonna be all gone. It's just like having $100 bill, you break that 100, it's gone. So, let's stop, let's
Speaking from experience.
let's have the conversation, but realize you just can't keep nibbling.
I agree.
You just can't keep nibbling.
I agree with that, but then present those projects. If scope needs work and needs to be done, let's stop once again kicking the can down the road with that, and let's make a plan to use that fund with it. So,
Is anything wrong with savings? Is anything wrong with just having
I don't
something
know.
on the side?
I only know I'm on council
You're
for
doing
one more
well.
year.
So
You're
let's-
doing well
I know.
this year.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
let's,
here's, I need a little more direction.
Okay.
So the art, and
So-
I
so-
hear you that it's ongoing, but if you do
No,
that,
no,
oh,
no,
it's not
one
on
time.
Okay, I'm
Just
sorry.
one
so,
time.
so Jake, do the one time, we're not gonna tell you where to get it from.
It was one
Um,
time,
got it.
that's all they want.
Yeah,
All
okay,
right, thank you.
so, Mrs. Johnson and Dr. Wilson,
We said as a council that one of the things that we would look at is how we spend our money. And I think that we still have to be focused on how we're spending our money, where it's going. Does it have a direct impact and the greatest impact on what our initiatives are for the council as well as for the school system and overall for the city. So I think that we need to be keeping that in mind as we go through the budget and how we're spending money, how much money we're spending, and where it's coming from, because that's something that we said we really wanted to take a look at, how we spend our money and where our money is going. So that's what I want to say. And as soon as, Mr. Mayor, you're ready, after Dr. Whibley speaks and you want to know what else needs to go on that list, I am prepared.
all right, Dr. Whibley.
Not to be a doggy downer, but I still have, I brought it up at our retreat, I still have great concerns about our risk fund. I feel like we have some, and I think we've all heard today, about some ongoing or potential big chunks of risk. And I know we've maxed what the level we thought was appropriate, but I don't know, I'd like somebody's opinion on that if I'm the only one that's being negative, but.
Okay, Mr. Riddick, then Mrs. Johnson.
Dr. Whibley, I agree with you. One of the things that I was going to mention along those lines, but not to, try to get funding for it, is the percentage of our retirement fund is funded. We got mixed messages from,
The actuary.
Yeah, we got mixed messages from the actuary and also mixed messages from the Jones administration when they left. And while I think, I know I did, think that we were funded, above 83 or 84%, I'm concerned that we might only be funded between 79 and 82%. It's nothing that we can do, I don't think, right now with the money we have now. But it's just like what Dr. Whibley is saying about our risk management fund. Certain things we had to get prepared for. And I think this is one of them, along with what Dr. Whibley is saying.
Okay. All right, Ms. Johnson and Ms. Graves.
The risk management fund, I do think that we really need to look at that. We have some things, and you just don't know what the possibilities are, and we have always been prepared. That is one of the reasons why we received that AA standard, is because we're prepared in advance. When we look at our budget, we look at our reserves, we look at the risk management fund, and I think we need to really revisit it again to ensure that the money is there that we need for risk management. I am concerned about the risk management fund as well.
Yeah, so at some point, we will get maybe an update on what's the potential or what's out there and what we have. So Mr. Manager, if you could schedule for us to know what we have left in the fund and what what is
You've got the, yeah, we're happy to do that. You've got the 5 million in the reserve. You've got, and help me with my numbers, a policy from, on a claim from 3 to 10 million.
It's not in place yet.
They will put it, so we'll put that in place, and then you've got the manager's contingency. But yeah, we're happy to have that conversation.
Economic downturn, what, how
5, another 5. I think it's 5. Yeah, it's 5. 5 in each of those.
So we have approximately 5, 5, 5, and a policy that is 3 to 10.
So Greg, why don't you jump up? If you
More money in
feel comfortable.
economic
Yes,
downturn.
How's your tax raise,
I
Terry?
thought we put more money in it.
If that were to happen.
So right now, our reserve, we have 5 million in the economic downturn, 5 million in the risk management reserve. And then the policy that the manager is speaking of is an insurance policy for risk that would go on top. Basically, the way it would work is any claim that came in, the city would be responsible for the first 3 million. Between 3 and 10, the insurance policy would pick up. Anything 10 or over, the city would be responsible for. But that would not cover anything that is currently in process.
So we're looking at purchasing a
Correct. We
policy
do not have it in
to
place at this point.
take us out of being fully self-insured, but as you just said, anything that's occurred to date wouldn't be insurable.
But, anything that we've been notified about, will that be insurable? Because you have to disclose that.
Most policies are written on an occurrence basis rather than a claims-made basis. I don't know what we're looking at, but the common policy is based upon whether the occurrence happened within the policy period.
I think we need an update.
So that's what, so I hear you. We'll give you an update, and the good news is it would be one-time money.
All right, Mr. Manager, what's next? Oh, Mrs. Graves, I'm sorry.
I would like, because we do have some things that are coming down the pipe, so I would like, I think I would like this offline, like a worst-case scenario.
Okay.
All right, that's what you said, that's what you would get.
Yeah. Well, I know we have, but like a worst-case scenario.
Okay? Ms. Thomas?
Well, and I'm going to follow Ms. Johnson, when she's got some additional things you would need.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll
once we
follow
finish
up.
this list, then we'll add on.
So the only ones you haven't talked about are the Resource Center, the volunteer, the Hague study, and.
So do we need to talk about those and get it out of the way?
We would like to
Y'all- yeah,
exhaust this
I think
list
you gotta,
because you're
you gotta give me some direction on whether these
You're
things
gonna put up
are.
another list.
If you wanna add,
Okay.
if I were you, I'd add it now.
We need to go through this
Oh,
list.
add now, okay. So my list involves, which will also take care of the city's initiative as well as the school initiative with the focus on neighborhood development and improvement. So with that request, I'm looking at approximately, and I can break it down for my colleagues and everything, approximately $350,000, which then would include $100,000 for blighted properties and acquisition, $100,000 for business facade and improvements. We're always talking about what could we do with our existing businesses to help them get involved with the communities. And a good example is, it's not One Stop anymore, but it's over in Fairmount Park.
It's
What
not a
is it?
mini mart, it's it's owned by Mr. Zanarula.
Right, so that is a perfect example.
Where is that? Which one?
Right, Tiny Giant, you remember the old Tiny
Yeah,
Giant,
they
Miss
put a lot of
Reddy?
money in that.
They did, along with what we did to help them.
So we
It
did a
is-
match.
And we did a
Yeah,
match,
that's great.
a wonderful example of that. And then there are approximately 4 other communities within our cities for Ward 3 that have not received any economic or neighborhood development or an improvement. And those are about 4 various communities at $50,000 each.
So if you don't mind, 100,000 for blighted properties, 200 for the, call it other neighborhoods, and then 50 for the facade improvements, is that what you're saying?
100,000, sir.
100,000, all right. So,
Yes.
all right. So 400 altogether.
Maybe can
Am I
you
doing my numbers
tell
right?
me the 4 neighborhoods that you're looking at? Only because last year we set a plan to focus on the 20, what's the year, 2030 plan, and focusing on those corridors, because I was gonna do a small request for East Little Creek Road for similar to the business facade improvement,
Okay.
100,000 for that, but that's a focus for, in that plan, there's specific benchmarks, if you go in the appendix of the 2030 plan that
Sure.
are targets. So I just wanna make sure that, like, if you wanna give neighborhoods this 50,000, if they're not in the plan book, it's difficult to then identify projects. So then you're getting into, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you're getting into a civic league. You go to them and you say, I've got 50,000 for you, but they haven't benchmarked or said what they want to spend that money on. So are those neighborhoods that are, I know there's plenty of neighborhoods in Norfolk that are in that plan, but are those in Ward 3?
Yes.
But Tommy, also, what the manager and James Rogers is working on is strategic comprehensive plans with all of our 120 so neighborhoods that will be developed with and by the community, and it'll be their plan. And so we don't know whether it'll be 50,000 or 100, because we have not identified all of those
Right.
goals, and so that's something that we're going to work on as well. So every neighborhood should have eventually a neighborhood plan or a strategic plan, comprehensive plan.
Right, but we haven't gotten to all of those neighborhoods, like you said, that has a plan, but there are areas that they are working on within their community that addresses what we committed to as far as neighborhood development and economic development and improvement.
All right. Is that your list, Ms. Johnson? Is it?
That is my
All right.
list. Thank you so
Mr.
very
Thomas.
much, colleagues.
Well, more than half of my list we've already identified and taken care of tonight. So the only two things left, and I'll just ask Doug if you can just review these and get back to me maybe when we meet next week. I'm wondering what it would cost to back up. When the economic recession occurred, we had to dial back on the hours at our rec centers. And I'd like to see Sunday hours at the Fitness and Wellness Center expanded if that number is not too ridiculous. So maybe if we can look into that and find out what that would look like.
Daryl's not here, is it? Crittenden's not here. Is that Daryl, is that under Daryl Crittenden?
That is under Derek. He's currently, they're dedicating a room for his parents
Right.
in Dinwiddie.
So can you,
Yes.
Wonder, can you
Yes.
get that question answered?
We can.
And that's something that we should try to do, because wellness and fitness in that area,
On Sundays.
on Sundays, yeah.
It's open on Saturday. It's Sunday.
Of course, you have your day off, that's when you want to go.
Exactly.
And-
All right.
And the only other request that I've received that seems reasonable to look at would be sister cities. We could see if their additional request is something we can afford.
They asked me for 15,000 for
That's
just
what
one
they asked me
employee.
for too, that's on my
One
list.
five.
15,000
1 5,
One
1 time or
One five,
ongoing?
one time.
ongoing, I think, because it'd be an
Ongoing.
employee.
Yeah.
Yes, they do great work. I love sister cities.
All right, Mrs. Graves.
I am asking to add to the 250,000 we put aside last year for Pebble Halls Rec Center. What I'm trying to do here is, over the course of time, so that we don't have one huge hit to the budget, we have to accumulate land and build a recreation center. So I'm asking for 250,000 to add to what we already have for them. And I did owe you with Sister Cities with the 15,000, they asked me for that as well, so I did owe that. And I support Mamie's request as well.
All right, so we're heading in the wrong direction, but I love you,
We have another meeting.
You said
I was feeling good around 5 to 10.
You have the undesignated fund.
Absolutely.
I'm
We just
here.
designated it.
I'm there. Y'all have caught on that one time feels better than ongoing.
And just to go back, Andrew and I discussed earlier about East Little Creek Road and going back to our commitment and having some 100,000 available for the facade improvement so that we can start going back. We used to have that fund, and I think it just wasn't advertised well, so the city felt that the fund needed to go away because it wasn't being utilized, but that was also during the economic downturn, and so businesses weren't interested in improving. But, if we can offer 25,000 here or there, to a business and match grants, I think it's a great tool that economic development and we can use. And we've been doing a great job with partnering with more businesses on East Little Creek Road to assist with that. And that's one-time funding.
And
Right,
what was the total?
100,000.
$100,000.
Yeah, I'm cheap
Little
today
Creek
because
Road?
y'all help the schools out.
For Little
so-
Creek Road?
East Little Creek Road, yeah.
Mr. Thomas?
With the facade improvements, I think we ought to look at that program, make sure there's some sort of metrics. I don't want to reward an owner who has the ability to upgrade his property and just doesn't do it and then accepts city money. So let's come up with some sort of metrics to say, okay, this is in an area where they need the help to push things forward.
And that was what I was gonna ask the question, could we get a presentation? Because sometimes that's very helpful when we're talking to people about what the facade improvement grant does there. Used to be a enterprise zone where there were identified, businesses, and it was a match. And so if you spent 20, you got 20 or some version of that. But also there are businesses that fell outside of that enterprise zone that needed help too. And I'm all for if we give money, they give money, not just us giving money.
Right, and that's what this is.
Yeah.
This is a matching grant.
Yeah.
fund.
But it
And-
has to be needs-based.
But Chuck, is it okay if I call on Chuck? Chuck, we talked about this 4 or 5 years ago when they, I think East Little Creek Road used to have 75,000, but it was utilized, and everybody who utilized it, where nobody took advantage of the city on that. It was all matching, whether, there were renovations that maybe wouldn't have been done if we didn't come in with the match, because it kind of tipped them over. They were thinking about it, but they didn't have the extra 10,000, so we came in. But
That's true, and Councilman, we also had on the other hand, request by somebody that everybody would have, has spent a significant amount of money in his business and yet doesn't have the matching ability at the moment to fix his facade, and there is no program.
Right.
So, Mr. Manager, we're running
So
a
you-
few minutes
Okay,
behind.
so you've got, in some quick math, about $800,000 of one-time requests and $250,000 or so of ongoing requests. I think what I'd ask of you is, ma'am,
Can I just say that I'm taking one request off the table?
absolutely, take all the time you need.
Would you like to?
That's right.
So, well, I very much think it needs to happen. I've actually passed out some pictures of The Hague and how awful the silting problem is there and the green algae blooms that are happening. In talking with Public Works about this to confirm that the number was right, they reached out to Stormwater and they found that they have a grant program under which that engineering study can be handled. So I would like to take that money for this pocket of money off, but I still want it done.
All right.
Just gonna come from something that already
All right.
exists.
Very good. Any
All right.
more want to take off? Anybody else?
I just got
Yeah, Mr. Riddick?
you have the 12,000 in there, right?
Yes,
For
sir.
the resource center.
Yes, sir.
That's in there. But I guess one of my questions as we went around the table. Now, James Rogers' department, they'll still get community development block grant funds. And is there any residue from this budget that would carry over to the next budget, which might give him over $3 million? So some of the things that were requested as far as the neighborhood is concerned can come out of community block development grant funds, as well as if he should have any residue left, from the 17 budget. So I think if we look closely at the neighborhood facades and things of that nature, it might be able to, take it out of Mr. Rogers' fund, which is for housing more, than anything else. But it could just be a couple of dollars left, and to take the light on this budget, I thought we were out of that spend every nickel syndrome. I think we need to be a little bit more conservative as opposed to somebody call in and say, well, look, I need 300,000. We put it on the table and try to, accomplish that. I think we need to be a little bit more conservative because you never know what's coming down the pipe. That's all I gotta say.
All right, so we're going to hear from, maybe we really need to kind of
Mr.
catch up.
Riddick, I agree with what you're saying, conservative with our money, but there are some communities that have been waiting for a long time, and they just can't afford, we just can't afford to make them wait any longer. And my biggest concern with Mr. James Rogers' budget is that we look at his budget to make sure that he is able to do everything that we're asking him to do throughout this city, instead of taking away from his budget, as well as the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space, to ensure that they have the money that is necessary for our city. Because this summer, I am not going to continue to make call-ins concerning grass being cut on our major fairways, like I did last summer, and we not have the money in both of those two budgets to take care of it.
Right, Mr. Smith.
One of the things we've been able to do is buy some of the equipment we talked about, $200,000 worth with 17 money, so I think that'll help that.
Chief, I understand what Mr. Riddick's saying, but I also know that we have stockpiles of money in our budget because we do stock money to do big projects, and that if we ever needed to go, if we had an emergency, we could always look at some of those funds, if we got into a pickle with that. But what I wanted to ask is, Kenny, I think everybody around this table at some point has talked about a athletic facility of some sort, indoor use. I don't know if this is something that we want to look in. I don't know how much it would cost to study that, and maybe even do a prelim design. I don't know if there's already something in the works, but we've talked about it for a couple years now, not as serious as we have this year. But with Virginia Beach's recent announcement of wanting to put $40 million in another structure, it only is putting Norfolk behind again on not having a sportsplex facility for the city. And it may be something that's bigger, but I don't know if that's something that can be studied in-house through economic development, or if we need to put $50,000 aside to study that and figure out where the right location would be for this. How big of a facility we would need in Norfolk to stay competitive to do that. But I'll tell you, if there's any other thing that I hear from citizens all the time, it's about our recreation parks, where we have some good facilities, but we're falling behind in competition. And we don't have to get to the level of Virginia Beach, but we need to continue to raise the bar in some of those areas. And that would probably be a good investment for this council to look down the road.
Yeah, I think that's something we would want to study this year. You got a couple of threshold questions you got to ask of who's your market. Is your market citizens, or is your market trying to bring tournaments and things in? And they're very different strategies depending on what you do there. Do you want the indoor facility? Do you want the outdoor facilities? But I think we could come to you all with Daryl and his crowd with a plan. But I wouldn't ask you to start figuring out big dollars in this budget.
Right. No, absolutely not.
But I hear you.
You have some money that we haven't spent yet, but if you come back next time and you say to do a study like that would be, $50,000 or something, maybe you can, by the next meeting, tell us what that would be, and let's get the conversation going, because if it may take 2 or 3 years to even, get a design done, at that point, and then we're really going to be behind at that point. So,
Ms. Johnson.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with the sportsplex, because I've been talking about it for 3 years, and I think we need to bring it forward and see where we can possibly go with it.
I respectfully request that you stop calling on people, because I'm running out.
Mr. Manager, the ball is in your court.
You had it easy, Doug. This, that was easy.
All right.
Mrs. Graves.
I'm not asking for any money. I'm not asking for any money. I'm not taking off any money either.
I was told that there was 250,000, and so I was moderate and said, okay, I
There's a phrase that you can't sell that donkey twice. We sold it 4 times.
I was just doing what I was told.
Sure, you did well.
No, I just wanted to say, overall, just having sat through some of these budget discussions and things like that, I think you guys put a great budget together. I think, Mr. Manager, you did a great job with working on, identifying money for schools, something that's very important to all of us and that we all feel passionate about. And the one thing that I would say, we have a committee of one for education that never meets. And so as we go through these conversations, I think that there is some opportunity for us to meet and be briefed as a committee of one, or however many people of that committee of, all, if you will, want to meet to get to have those conversations about schools. But I think you guys have done a really great job in terms of putting this together, meshing out everybody's wish list and want list, and coming up with money for the schools. So, kudos to
Thank you.
both.
Great. All right, so James, you want to do a quick,
Good job.
all right, quick update on the Cigar Factory?
Yes, sir. As everyone knows, we went to court on last Monday for the cigar factory, and they had asked for an injunction, for a temporary injunction. Judge Doyle did not grant that motion, and so we began. We signed the contract with a contractor on that Wednesday, that Thursday, and we tore one wall down on Friday, and we will have because it's a big crane that we have to get out there. That will be on site tomorrow or Thursday, and we begin demolition of the property. So again, we're moving forward, and my staff is out there every day looking at it to make sure we get it done, and we will watch that until it gets completely down. So.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Jane.
Wonder?
Sir, Ms. Mayor, Norfolk is a vibrant city, and our vibrancy continues this month of May. It's Bike Month here in Norfolk. There are a list of events. As soon as it queues up here. Here we go. Here's some events here in our city that are led by city staff. That vibrancy spills over into our campaign about pedestrian and bike safety. We call it Travel with Care. And we're using people that you may know, some of whom here that live locally. So you'll start to see these on billboards, on buses, and other places. And what we're interested in is ensuring that you're not only safe on a bike, but just walking around. And so we're using residents and/or Girl Scouts, and then maybe even some city council people that you know.
Please don't put it on a billboard. Ride your bike.
You ride your bike in that outfit?
Don't your shoes scary?
So again, you'll start to see these next steps, but I just wanted to highlight May is Bike Month and continues the wonderful vibrancy we have in this lovely city.
Thank you.
All right, Mr.
Manager,
Manager.
thank you. All right.
Bikes with heels.
Would ask John Konak, so really the next couple of things we're going to do are a couple of items that we didn't get to before. John Konak's going to give you an update on NRHA's next steps for the Diggstown community renovations.
Afternoon. Thank you very much. We appreciate this opportunity. And I'm going to talk just context about where we are. And Steve Morales, our neighborhood project director, is going to take us through Diggstown renovations. And if we have any questions that are too hard for him, I'll stand up and take the beating. So on the first slide, Kim, are you moving them or am I hitting? Do I just touch the screen?
We're not that.
It's not magic?
Okay, we are not that.
They used to be a touch screen.
The technology reserve fund didn't work out.
He's serious.
It used to, Bernard remembers, it used to be a touch screen there.
I remember footboards.
All right, there you go, it moved. Last summer, the council approved NRHA to go create 2 entities to seek low-income housing tax credits to renovate Young Terrace and Diggstown. And part of that approval, we promised that we'd come back to you before we actually move forward. And now we're coming back to you with the news that there's been lots of discussions, and we've stopped our efforts to actually seek low-income housing tax credits to renovate Young Terrace. We heard from the community and we heard from a lot of stakeholders that a renovation of that property was really just kicking the can down the road and not transformational enough. So we've taken that off of our plans to actually renovate. But we do want to proceed with Diggstown. There's lots of energy about the idea with Newton Creek and the transformation project that might be there, but we still have the communities of Diggstown, Grandy Village, and Oakley Forest that we need to make sure still meet the needs of the residents. So Steve is going to take us through our plans to use tax credits and debt to do a renovation with Diggstown. And you see that 422 units there. It's currently 422. Part of the renovation is actually vacating through attrition and clearing 100 of those units, or actually it's 91 units, but the other 9 are going to be combined to make bigger accessible units. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve and hand him this thing, which probably works.
Thank you. Of course, John just stole a lot of the thunder there.
First and foremost, we are not here asking for money, as y'all just had the budget discussion, but we are looking for your support. Diggstown was originally built in 1952. It's 422 units, as John noted, 27 acres. It's 100% occupied. We have 35 to 45 units turnover annually, roughly in digs, and we reoccupy within 15 days. The last major renovation we've done out in Diggstown was back in the early 1990s. And at this point, we do need to do a wholesale renovation in order to keep the community viable. What we're looking to do is basically Diggstown in 3 projects. 2 are renovation phases, phase 1 and 2. The first phase would be 222 units. The second phase would be 100. And then the third part of the project is the selected demolition of 91 units that are peppered throughout the community. This graphic just shows the 2 phases. Actually, north would be this way. So it's really west and east, phase 1 being the west side and phase 2 being the east side. This graphic shows, and the dots are a little off on this one, sorry. What this graphic shows is the buildings that are, let's see if I can use the buildings that are in these dark gray and this hash, those are the ones that are going to be demolished. There's 16 buildings peppered throughout the 2 phases, eight buildings in each phase. The idea is that once we take these down, this will create more open space. It will relieve a lot of we have a large problem with parking congestion in the community, and when you do get into Diggstown, it feels quite tight in there on the 27 acres with the 422 units. And so what we're designing with the demolition is essentially to relieve some of that feel, actually improve sort of the overall livability of the community. The big question is, what's going to happen with folks? There's 3 basic options that we provide for all the folks out in Diggstown. Everybody's going to have to move at least once in this project, and that's because it's a complete renovation. You cannot have the family live in the unit while we do the full renovation with adding air conditioning, replace the roofs, kitchens, bathrooms, upgrade all the electrical. So everyone has to move at least once. So the first item that we'll do, if folks want to stay in the community, we will have units become available, and so we'll be able to do temporary relocation. We're not doing the whole project at once. We do it in phases. So we expect to be turning over 4 to 5 buildings at a time, and so we'll be working with those families on temporary relocation. We'll also make available folks, for certainly when we're dealing with the demolition, to talk about permanently moving using a housing choice voucher. And then third, if they don't want to use a voucher and don't want to remain in the community temporarily, they can move to another public housing community. We've surveyed the community, and right now it's about 65% of the folks would like to take a voucher and leave the community. So our problem really isn't that we will have enough places within the community to keep folks there. It's actually we're going to probably have a greater problem with having enough vouchers to accommodate everyone that wants to leave. We are hoping, and we will see that a lot of the folks that raise their hand and say that they'd like to leave with a voucher, a lot of those folks end up not leaving. And we are certainly hoping that as they see the renovation occur, that more will decide to remain in the community. But we are responsible for all relocation expenses and reestablishment expenses. So Dominion bills for deposits and things of that nature, we are going to be responsible for that. We actually started talking about this project to the folks out in the residents out in Diggstown back in June of 2015, where we first went out and proposed the idea and got their feedback and input. We've continued to meet with them on a regular basis to talk about the project and how it's coming along. We've also, the authority has a resident advisory board, which is a combination of you can say of the almost civic league presidents of each of the communities, and they get together and advise us on our annual plan, as well as we bring to them our major projects. And then finally, we go to our board of commissioners regularly also and get their feedback, input, and advise them of how we're proceeding with the project. So next steps. What we're doing now is we're working with VHDA. We do have an allocation of tax credits We're putting all the other financing in place. We're going to VHDA for bond financing. This is a RAD deal, and that's an overly complicated item, but basically it will allow us to take debt on the property, which we can't do currently on public housing communities. But at this point also, we need to submit a demolition application. And to do so, we come to the council actually and seek your support. And it's a verbal support, which then we would go to the city manager and ask then for a support letter based on council's action.
All right, Mrs. Graves?
I just have a question on the debt part. Given the current administration in Washington, D.C., and their proposed cuts to all kinds of programs that would basically affect housing authorities across the country, if we're taking on debt, what's our plan to pay for it?
As part of the RAD program, the simple part of it is this, is they take the operating fund, which currently is we use to operate, Diggstown will continue to do so, and then they bring in the capital fund and actually add it to that operating fund and put it as one single housing assistance payment, a HAP contract, under the Section 8 program. And so the capital fund amount is the amount that we'll be using to pay back the debt. And you are dead right. You're concerned about what the federal government's going to do. And it actually even makes it, I think, more imperative that we go through a RAD conversion for Diggstown for this project. Because the key thing is, what we see is they're going to chop at the public housing side of the ledger. But on the Section 8, and particularly the project-based Section 8 programs, they actually tend to not cut those as heavy. And then when you have a HAP contract, which is what this will be, they leave those alone. So we actually see this as a way to protect the funding for Diggstown.
I saw your presentation on this, and I was having trouble understanding it. So I asked multiple times just what the councilwoman asked. And I thought the answer then was that under the RAD, you have a contract with the federal government, which is binding beyond change in legislation, so secures the funding greater than being dependent upon the legislation, that you substitute appropriation for contractual obligation. Did I misunderstand that?
We actually have a contract for the operating subsidy, but it's subject to appropriation.
Okay, so I misunderstood it.
We think that the project-based rental assistance contract has been honored more, but I don't think there's anything that would keep Congress from eliminating the program. It could happen, but I will say that even in the Trump proposal, which is for next fiscal year, they're cutting $6 billion from HUD, or he proposed cutting $6 billion from HUD. He did not touch the project-based rental assistance program. So we just think it's safer. I think if Congress wanted to do it, they could eliminate that obligation, but we think it's a much safer obligation than the operating subsidy that has been sliced just dramatically in the last 10 years.
Okay, Mrs. Johnson.
Hi, Steve. Do we know or have a clear understanding of why the citizens don't want to come back once the renovation and the development takes place?
I mean, typically, when folks want to go out on a voucher, I mean, they're looking for, better housing in general, and that's whether to go into an area with better schools, or they're looking for single-family houses, something with more space. I mean, even with our renovation, and this is the part we have to, we can't change, but so much, is we can't make the units bigger. And so we're always going to be sort of behind the private sector when it comes to a modern apartment. This certainly will make them more livable. This will certainly make them better, but we can't make them bigger. I mean, these things were built, these are concrete walls, concrete ceilings. These are built to last forever in some respects, but what it doesn't mean is that it's very difficult and expensive to replace the major systems that are associated with them. And so certainly these will be better, but not bigger.
My next question is in reference to the vouchers. How do we go about, and I know it's the residents' decision, but one of the things we've been talking about as far as partnering is that the choice of neighborhoods where the vouchers are being used. And the landlords in general, that the residents, once they come out of public housing, and you're absolutely right, Mr. Morales, when we talk about, we can't make the units better. So bigger. So they go into vouchers, using the home vouchers. And it doesn't always necessarily mean that they're going into a better place is that you're providing. But it does give them some size. And so coming through the school system, we found out, we see that they're worse off than when they were in a stable situation going into using a home voucher. So although you can't tell us where they are, we also see that some communities become extremely strapped with absentee landlords, and it really puts a hardship on communities that have a decent foundation, but now they too find themselves struggling to accommodate the home vouchers.
And you know, we're working on a cooperation agreement as part of the poverty study, and working with Susan Perry.
Okay.
And you know, we certainly identify that we need an outreach program for the Housing Choice Voucher Program, being more responsive to civic leagues and citizens as well as landlords, but also capacity building to make sure that our families who want to choose a voucher will be as successful as they can. But we also put into place that for the first 12 months, if it's not working out, you can come back at the top of the list for a public housing unit, and people take advantage of that. They took advantage of that in Broad Creek. So even though 2/3, and that's a number that's been consistent throughout all our surveys, it's really about 1/3 that end up really wanting to take a voucher. Because right now people hear voucher, and for the most part they're thinking, I'm going to get a house, I'm going to rent a house, a single family home, and depending on what their situation is and their individual capacity, that might not be possible, and then they'll end up staying, or they'll end up choosing not to go.
And also, when they do find a place where they want to live and with the landlord, how often does NRHA go out to inspect to ensure that the families are doing pretty good? Because again, it's those landlords where the families are talking about, and they don't feel that they can do any better, and they're not willing to report the landlord once the living conditions aren't acceptable.
We do a physical inspection before every move-in. We do an annual physical inspection, and then we do an inspection if there's any complaints, anything's raised, any issues with the resident is involved. So we have a full inspection process. HUD has allowed us to go to 2 to 3 years, but we've stayed at 1 because we think it's important to make sure we tell everybody that we're out here at least 1 time a year.
And I think maybe if we put something in place to encourage the residents, our citizens, that it's okay for you to report the landlord, because they do have a sense of once they report something that's not working out where they live, that they're going to lose that place and they won't have anywhere to go. That is their greatest fear once they move and out on their own.
And if it doesn't work out, and it's something the landlord, it's a physical imperfection of some sort, that person does not lose their voucher. They get time to take their voucher and move to another place. So that's part of the choice, is that the landlord isn't guaranteed that this tenant is going to stay happy. They can take their voucher and go somewhere else.
All right. Mr. Riddick.
Yeah. Steve made this presentation at the Southside Task Force meeting this morning, and a couple of the greatest concerns was the Section 3. Was that How do you describe that?
Section 3 is a program under HUD, and it basically gets into a sort of almost like a work requirement where we're looking for new jobs that are created as a result of the federal infusion of money, essentially the project, that if new jobs are created, then we work with the employer, the contractor in this case, to make sure that they're out, going out and looking for residents and I guess of the community, of the area. That would be Section 3. That is, it's a income basis.
It's an area basis, but I should say the city has a Section 3 affirmative action plan. We have a Section 3 affirmative action plan. Every contract we enter into, including these renovation contracts, require the contractor to identify its workforce and identify its hiring needs, and any new hiring has to be referred through us, and they have to give us an opportunity. Now, there's no guarantee they have to hire folks, but they have to give us an opportunity. We also look at all payrolls during the work, so if there are names that show up that are not on their original list, we can come back and say, you need to verify where this person came from. Did you transfer them from another job? We are very compliant, but unfortunately not very effective. We have not hired a lot of folks through this program.
We failed miserably when we built the Campostella School. Guys and women who were across the street who wanted to come and work, So NRHA right now is looking for a letter from us to support this. Somehow, I believe that we need to be assured that when it comes to disadvantaged business goals and things like the Section 3, that you won't just take this letter and run, and then, we have individuals who can, if they can't, somebody said this morning, if they don't know how to build something, that they certainly can clean up from the demolition. There's just so many things that can be done. One of the things that hinders a lot of these small contractors is insurance. If I'm not mistaken, when HRT built the light rail in Norfolk, they incorporated insurance for these small operators. And so all of these things we need to put together so that when the dust clears, a lot of the individuals who were not really in good shape will be, in better shape after this.
All right, Mr. Smith.
After you meet this morning, James Rogers shared that concern. I think this is also an opportunity to continue to engage Norfolk Works. And you're going to get a presentation, is it the 9th? Norfolk Works is going to come in, and I think that's a piece that we'd want to, we're feeling good about the connection with Waterside and some of the other projects that have happened. So I think we're learning a lot, and I think that's something that we're going to want to incorporate in this conversation as well.
All right, Mr. Manager.
All right, so that is, so I do a time check with you all, which is you've got the overlay for Park Place, which I think you all are pretty familiar with. You've had it in your packet a couple times. Lenny's prepared to jump up and give you a presentation. So I'm gonna look to you all to decide if you want it out of those. All right, so then we've got
You've been cut, Lenny.
Chuck is gonna come up and do a quick piece again on these tourism zones. I think this is timely, and it's gonna be on your agenda shortly to add these, but I think all pretty straightforward, good news. And Chuck assures me he'll be done by 6.
Great. Good evening, everybody, and I will make this very quick. Tourism zones are a means by which we can have companies that can apply for special incentives that may be useful in the trying to get lodging, dining, retail, sports and meeting facilities, outdoor recreation areas, and other theme park and event type venues. And it's simply again an area that we can designate. We can have multiple zones in the city to as a step to allowing these businesses that or opportunities that may come into these zones to take advantage of in particular the state tourism development financing program. And we can do a little bit deeper dive on the TDFP at a different date, and there's a very nice website that I can refer everybody to with a 10-minute overview of that particular program. Currently, the only one we have was done specifically for the Maine project, for the 100 Maine tourism. So we created that zone in that area specifically so they could take advantage of that special financing program that allowed them to close a gap and take advantage of a special 20-year financing program that allowed them to close that gap that existed on that particular project. These are areas that we are proposing for tourism zones, and you can see that basically what we're trying to do is where we have the ability to do things like the Military Highway Corridor, and in particular the Ocean View Bayfront, and then also because of all the large number of event venues that we do have in our downtown area and along the Hampton Boulevard area, that we're most likely another additional opportunity along the lines of those type of qualifying venues could be encouraged to come into. So it really is a kind of a marketing tool that we can use. These zones are a step toward and a requirement for a company to participate in the state's program. And so what we would recommend is that the approval of an ordinance that would create these 3 zones, the downtown Norfolk area, the Military Highway Corridor actually, and in Ocean View along our bayfront. Glad to take any questions that you might have.
So the TDFP, I think, is one of the most interesting programs in the state in many ways because it affords you the opportunity to bring state money to a local physical development project that's filling a tourism void or need. And so I think for very sound reasons, you all, those of you who were on council a few years ago, you drew a pretty tight zone. What we're seeing in other communities is really broadening that zone. And obviously what we're doing is saying, we heard a lot from Mr. Smeagol about the opportunities to try and get a hotel in Ocean View. Obviously we think there's other opportunities downtown, the military corridor, and what tends to happen, and we'll give you more detail on that, the Tourism Development Financing Program, the developer many times will have a gap because maybe they're going into a market that's a little bit challenging, or they've got a product that pushes the envelope quality-wise. I think that's what you did with the Maine. And again, it affords you the ability to bring in some of that state money. And so we've got this ordinance on, and then we'll keep building on this, but we want to get this in front of today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
thank you
Mr.
very much.
Manager.
All right, Mr. Mayor, that is the budget and strategic planning staff will be up all night trying to figure out how in the world to accommodate the conversation. It went from 5:10 to 5:20 will be a difficult time. But we appreciate all the feedback.
Can we do one closed session item?
We do.
Yes.
Mr. Carter. Listen up.
It will not be long.
You can do this, Mr. Mayor.
I move the members of the council assemble and close meeting May 2, 2017 at 6:05 p.m. for the purpose set out in Clause 7 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and that is consultation with legal counsel regarding the cigar factory. Ms. Graves? Aye. Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. McClellan?
Aye.
Mr. Riddick? Mr. Smeagol?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Whibley?
James.
Mr. Alexander?
Aye.